you're in the middle of a sword fight scene with your protagonist battling the arch enemy in the final fight as they hover over a volcano, and your protagonist stops to think about how the light gleams off the hair of their enemy like a puppy dog that they had as a child, and the way that their coat shone in the morning sun. That's maybe not what you want to do. But on the other hand, it's a real question, right? How do you find the balance between external action and internal thinking? And that applies to both screenplays and to novel writing, but more to novel writing than it does to screenplays, because there's a lot more interiority in your story. But you need to know how to figure out that balance so that you're not disrupting the action or boring people. So how do you do that? A lot of it has to do with both context and with genre and with pacing. Those three elements that you need to keep in mind. Because obviously in the middle of a battle scene like I just discussed, unless you're writing a comedy, you're not going to disrupt the flow of the action with internal monologues that are trivial in relationship to the weight of the action that's unfolding in front of your reader. You want to keep them focused on the action, even if there's moments where they're thinking about maybe the next step in the action. Oh, I can use that hammer on the table over there to disable the murderer before they can fire their weapon at me. That's one thing. But to ponder deeply moments from their earlier life is not appropriate. On the other hand, if it's a romantic comedy or even a romance, there's a lot more interiority, because a lot more of the story is about introspection. So even in the middle of doing something, when somebody's in the office or they're on a date with the love interest or maybe the rival to the love interest, there's going to be a lot more thinking going on about what is the appropriate response in that moment, second guessing, and that's all part of that process. So you need to think about what you're trying to achieve artistically and what's going to move people towards the goal that you're trying to achieve. If the goal you're trying to achieve is to move people emotionally, even in the midst of action, then you're more likely to use interior monologues. If the goal is to move people through action, to give them a sense of tension as a result of a situation in which somebody is in physical danger, whether it's them personally, their ship, or another person, you're going to use much less in the way of interiority. Now, that's a general rule, but you have to understand that it's not fully one or ever fully the other. There's always going to be an element of focus on action in romances that are going to outweigh interiority. There's going to be moments in which you're engaged in a battle, and there's going to be an element of interiority to it. Somebody thinking about the loss of their love interest in the course of a battle if they don't do X, and thinking about how that will affect them is totally legitimate. So finding that balance is about writing it out in the moment as you feel it, and then going back and feeling your way through the pacing and the balance and editing, and being ruthless and not being sentimental about whether you have too much or too little. Anyway, I hope that helped a little bit, and if you have any questions, leave them down below and we'll talk soon. Bye for now.